My name is James Hayes. I'm a candidate for mayor in the city of Compton. Welcome to Burrell McDonald Park, which is my neighborhood park. I've been in this neighborhood since 1962, and that's part of why I'm running for mayor. But in addition to that, you know all of the problems and issues facing our city, and I truly feel that this time we need to go to experience to solve these issues. So I'm running for mayor. This is the second time. I ran 4 years ago, did very well. We're going to do it right this time and we'll get in. But I think, again, residents need to understand that this is such a very important election because of the fact that we have issues that don't seem to go away, and it's time that we tackle them. 8 years from now, Compton will be a city where citizen participation is the norm. And when I talk about citizen participation, I'm talking about the people of Compton feel that City Hall is their building. They're being able to participate in the government process through boards, commissions, and special committees. What the city lacks right now, in my opinion, is citizen input. Citizens aren't impacting infrastructure. Citizens aren't impacting the nature of the parks. Citizens aren't really impacting the cleanliness of the city. And we have to bring all that back. And I say back because at one time we had all that in place, and we've lost it over the years. So I'm a strong proponent of citizen participation in a true sense. Block clubs, neighborhood watch programs, what have you. All that needs to come back to Compton, and what I foresee during my time as mayor of the city of Compton is you'll begin to see real citizen participation, and as a result of that, you'll see positive change in the city. I think first and foremost, a mayor has to be completely familiar with the city charter. The city charter is the law of the city in addition to the code book, the ordinance and code book. You have to be completely familiar with those because that basically dictates how you function in your seat. It also dictates what all of our departments do, all of our other leaders do. So if you're not familiar with that, when you step into office, you're going to have to be taught that. In my case, I don't have to be taught that. I consider myself an expert on the city charter. I also consider myself as someone who's had to deal with municipal code and ordinance issues for many years. You may recall that I worked for the late Councilman Jones, and one of the key roles I played is that I advised him on charter issue and ordinance issues. And because I was able to do that, I think he saw good success in what he did in representing his district. So I think that is just extremely important, and that you know your role as the mayor is also the representative of the government to the public. You have to be a visible mayor. You have to be not just visible when the cameras are there, but you have to be in the neighborhoods talking to residents on a regular basis. So one of the things I plan to do after being elected is have a program where I'm walking different neighborhoods on a regular basis, talking to the citizens, finding out what their needs are. So I'm not talking about town hall meetings. I'm talking about actually walking the neighborhoods. I'm doing that now, and I'm just going to keep doing it as we go through the term as mayor, because that's the only way we can bring this city back, is if people truly feel engaged. And everybody likes to say, well, the mayor came by my house, or you know, the mayor stopped and talked to me. That has to happen here because that will promote unity in the city. You know, I have to get out there because of the fact that Compton is ethnically diverse as it is, okay, with the majority of our population being Latino, especially in the Latino community. I have to develop good, sound relationships, and I think people need to see that I really care about them. And it's more than just coming to a town hall meeting. It's like coming to your home, okay, standing in your front yard while you water the grass, you know, things like that. And that's my level of energy for the job, and that's what I'm bringing, and I think everyone's going to be pleasantly surprised when I walk into their neighborhood and start these conversations. I've been blessed. My primary source of money is my wife and I. I mean, we've been professionally successful, and I guess we were prepared to take on this endeavor and not require folks to contribute a lot of money. Because my feeling is this: when you take money from major donors, you become somewhat beholden to them. Even if they don't say it, you know that if I go to the oil company over there on Alameda and they give me $2,000, if the citizens over there start complaining about the air again, they're going to say, well, James, you know we gave you $2,000 or more. I don't want that. I don't want to take that chance. Right back here in my neighborhood here, we have the Yoplait Yogurt Factory. And at night, it makes a lot of noise for the folks who live back on Billings and Lantana and what have you. I could go to your play and say, give me a donation, but I'm not going to do it because I'd rather go to them and say, you know what, your plant is disturbing my constituents and we need to find a way to make my constituents happy. So I'm not taking major donations in any form. I'm taking small donations, and because of that, I realize that a lot of that money has to come from me in terms of financing my campaign, and I'm willing to take that on. You know, it is important to me that we come in free and unencumbered as it relates to donations. No, I'm not happy with the current form of law enforcement that we have in Compton. Not necessarily because it's the LA County Sheriff's Department, but because of the way the LA County Sheriff's Department serves the people of Compton. I'm a strong proponent of community-based policing, and the interesting thing, many folks may have missed this, but when the sheriff first came to Compton, they did do community-based policing. And over the years, the politicians allowed them to drift away from that. So I want to go back to full-fledged community-based policemen where our law enforcement is involved with the community. Block clubs, nonprofit organizations, what have you, they have to be involved. The only way we're going to stem crime and make the citizens feel truly safe is if that they feel they have a relationship with the LA County Sheriff's Department. In addition to that, I want to go to the Board of Supervisors and the LA County Sheriff and tell them that based on the amount of money that we pay them, we are very underserved. We pay a tremendous amount of money. The largest portion of our budget goes to the LA County Sheriff's Department. Something's wrong if your money's being spent in that way and you're an unhappy customer. Something's very wrong. Additionally, we deserve more because we pay city taxes, right? And those city taxes go to help fund the Sheriff's Department. Well, we also pay taxes to the county. And those taxes are spread out with the Sheriff's Department. So see, we're not paying just once. We're paying more than once. And with that in consideration, we deserve better service. So I'm going to be proactive extremely in the very beginning. I'm going to sit down with Supervisor Mitchell and give her my position and tell her that we need to seek to better the relationship. And after I can get her buy-in on that, we'll sit down with the sheriff and we will go to them with a plan and proposal for making it better. So I don't want to just have discussions. I want to go in, put a document on the table and say, this is what Compton needs. We need you to implement this. So look at this and implement this. First of all, Compton has too many outdated pipes. Now, we could have replaced these pipes through the years, but we haven't. Okay, money that should have been used to replace pipes was used for other reasons. No, we have to roll it back. And we have to find the money to replace these old pipes. I understand in some areas the pipes are still wooden. Now this is 2021. Folks should not be drinking water out of wooden pipes, okay? So we need to first identify those areas. As a matter of fact, any area where the water quality is not where it needs to be, we need to identify those areas and prioritize those areas for removal and replacement of pipes. Additionally, we need to look at the testing standards because every city has a standard for testing its water, and I'm a proponent of being more stringent in that regard, okay? Because a certain amount of chlorine is good, a certain amount is bad. I want to revise all this, and I really want to go to the experts and say, you know what is clean water? Not only that, but what does it look like? Because we're told that even though the water's cloudy, it's still good to drink. I need to talk to an expert in the field, okay, to tell me, yeah, James, this water is okay for your citizens to drink. So I think we have to use technology, okay, in order to figure the water problem out. And I think also we need to go green. I think all of the city vehicles should be green vehicles. Let's catch up with the times as it relates to the environment. You look at the weather patterns now. One of the things we've noticed right here in this area is a change in the weather pattern. And I've said, you know what? It has to do with global warming. So how do you respond to that? You respond to that by reducing the emissions that you're responsible for as a city government. Additionally, we're not using solar power. All of these buildings that the city owns should be solar powered. Okay, instead of looking at vacant parcels like the Alondra dump site here as for a park or what have you, we need to go into the solar business. I say put a solar farm there, sell that energy to Southern California Edison, and rebate every citizen in Compton because a solar farm that large will actually do that. So I think we have to think outside the box we've been in for the last 30 years. I think we have to admit that there's an environmental issue, and as a city, we have to address it so that our citizens say it's important to address it at home. So I have a lot of ideas on the environment, and how we need to be progressive in our thinking so that we can protect Compton for future generations. Because if we don't do it now, as you always hear, and I always repeat it, if we don't do it now, our grandchildren are truly going to suffer. They're truly going to suffer here. And I want Compton to be ahead of the game in terms of saying that we're energy efficient, we're sustainable as it relates to energy and environment, and I plan to take us there. I want to do real economic development. See, city officials presently like to use the word economic development. I really don't think they understand economic development. Economic development is not building a building, okay? Economic development is, yes, you build a building, but you make sure your people help build the building. You make sure your people have jobs in the building. You make sure that that building, in terms of the environment, is not having a negative impact on the environment. Case in point, the UPS project over on Littleton Drive. Now, people go there and they see a completely new street. They see lush landscape. They see a beautiful area. That's economic development. Not to mention the fact that they hired so many people from the neighborhood. That is real economic development. Just throwing up a building does not fit the bill as economic development. When someone comes to Compton and they want to build a project, okay, it always sounds good, okay, but what's going to be the environmental impact of the project, truly? What's going to be the economic development impact of the project, truly? Okay, when I sat on the planning commission, the developers hated me. And the reason they hated me is because every time they came with a development, I went to the environmental impact report. No one else would do it but me. And I would look at it and I would say, well, what about all this dust? Okay, what about the wear and tear on our streets? What about the impact on water in the neighborhoods? Okay, I wanted to know that. What about high density? Okay, what's the impact that high density is having on this neighborhood? Now, case in point, we have 2 new housing developments over on the east side of town. Okay, and I used to live over there for a very short time before then, before they built them. We never had blackouts. You go on the east side of town now, they have rolling blackouts. It's because of the demand for energy. You know, high density housing, demand on energy. What people say, we can't get the water down. Well, we can't get the water down as long as new people are being pushed into these high density developments in the city. It's costing us more for water. So I want to look at all of that, okay, as it relates to how it impacts everybody in the city. And that's real economic development. And we should not have to displace people when we rebuild this city. When we do economic development, we should not have to displace people, okay? Be they homeless, be they folks who can't afford rent or to purchase or what have you. We should not be displacing people when we do economic development. And that's the key thing with real economic development. There's no displacement. Now, if you need people to move from an area, you find them a place to go. Okay, and you know, that's where we fall short on dealing with our homelessness situation in Compton. We want people to move, but as a city, we're not providing any services, any housing. We just want them to move. Okay, so my approach is let's develop the resources before we ask them to move from a neighborhood or an area of the city.
That's all the time for.
Okay, good. We're done?